But regardless of their causes, their mental health and drug and alcohol issues become much bigger when they return, and we need to have a way to deal with them effectively and try to get them out of the system. So I do hope that the people of this state will look at my background, look at my record, look at the time I've been on the bench, and return me to the bench to be able to continue the work in those reforms. Also, as a justice on the Supreme Court, in the 12 years I've been there, I have learned a great deal and hopefully are a lot wiser in my decisions. As a trial judge, I did a lot of work on felonies. All felonies came to the Common Pleas bench. I also had jurisdiction over all civil cases that were over 10,000 except for probate and juvenile. But as a justice, I will rule on issues involving tax, the regulation of your electric rates, the divorce of between you and your spouse, the death of your parents, whether your child gets a ticket. Every one of those issues come before us, and in the 12 years that I've been on the bench, I've had a wonderful opportunity to increase my base of knowledge in all of these areas of law, and hopefully each time I make a decision now, I am better, smarter, and wiser in the decision because I've learned so much more about it. I am of the justices on the bench. The plain dealer did an analysis of the work that the justices do in getting their opinions out timely, and in 3 out of the last 4 years, I was the justice who most timely edited and got her opinions written and released. And I share that with you just to let you know that though I spend a lot of my personal time on mental health and adoption, my court work does always come first. So I think with that background, with that experience, I hope I merit once again the votes of the people of Ohio and that you return me to the bench. And I thank you for this opportunity to share with you.
Thank you, Justice Stratton. Judge Sikora.
Thank you, Dean Mearns and Jan Roller and the members of the City Club and the audience here and listening to us on the radio today. It's a very important time for all of us, and our votes this year, I think, are more important than ever. It is a real pleasure to be at the City Club. I've grown up in Cleveland listening to City Club debates, and to actually be part of one of these is really quite an important day in my life. So thank you very, very much. I grew up in Cleveland. I didn't have quite as exotic a childhood as Justice Stratton. I did grow up on the west side of Cleveland, not too far from the Cuyahoga River. I was educated in Cleveland. I went to St. Ignatius High School, Cuyahoga Community College, Baldwin Wallace, and received my degree in law at Case Western Reserve University. After that, I served 2 years as a law clerk at the Ohio Court of Appeals. I was Deputy Legal Counsel to Governor Celeste, and then Deputy Legal Counsel, or Deputy Director and Legal Counsel for the Ohio Department of Mental Retardation and Developmental Disabilities. In 1989, Governor Celeste saw fit to appoint me to the bench in Cuyahoga County, the Juvenile Division of the Court of Common Pleas, and I have been there ever since. In the almost 20 years that I've been on the courts, I have dealt with a wide variety of issues. We deal with the criminal aspect of the delinquency cases. We have the abuse, neglect, and dependency cases. We do custody, visitation, and support. We have traffic cases, so there's a wide variety of things that we've dealt with on the courts. Let me tell you why I'm running for the Supreme Court. I have been very troubled over the past several years of some of the decisions that we have seen coming from our court. We learned in 4th or 5th grade, I think it was, in civics class, the importance of having balance between our branches of government and within our branches. Our government works well if it works well because of checks and balances. And when we have one-party rule, we don't have checks and balances. We had a legislature who passed whatever laws it thought it wanted to because it was so dominated by one party. It knew it had a governor who would rubber stamp whatever they sent up to him. And they were counting on a Supreme Court to bend over backwards to find their actions constitutional. And that's exactly what we have seen. We have seen a court over the past several years which has systematically chipped away at our constitutional rights. They have restricted the historic role of the jury. They have limited our ability to recover damages when we are injured. They have made it impossible in some instances to sue a manufacturer of a faulty piece of equipment. They have made it more difficult to know what our government is doing by giving the governor an executive privilege to hide documents from us, an executive privilege that existed nowhere in the Constitution and nowhere in statutes. The scandals which have plagued our state over these past many years have even reached to the Supreme Court, when 5 of the 6 Republican justices had to step aside from hearing the Tom Noe cases because of contributions that he made to their campaigns. It is time for change. The best change that we could have, the best way that we can guarantee that people have confidence in what the court does is they have balance on the courts. As a justice, I will help modernize the courts. Right now, we are still working as if we are in the 20th century. When your attorney has to file an appeal at the court, they literally have to cart boxes of briefs down to Columbus. The other side has to do the same. We're killing entirely too many trees to file our briefs in the Supreme Court. The federal court has gone paperless. We should do the same. We could help modernize the court by doing that. We could make it a lot easier and a lot more cost-effective. As a juvenile court judge now almost 20 years, I have seen the need to modernize the way in which we do business in our family courts. By that I mean the domestic relations court, the probate court, and the juvenile court. We have a lot of overlap. We have a lot of duplication of services. We should create a unified family court, redistribute the responsibilities, and make the court a lot more user-friendly, a lot more effective, and save a lot of taxpayers' dollars in the process. And third, I share Justice Stratton's passion for adoptions. I think I come at it from a little different perspective, more of a grassroots effort. One of the toughest things I have to do as a juvenile court judge is to grant permanent custody to the Department of Children and Family Services in abuse, neglect, and dependency cases. When I do that, I firmly believe I'm making a pledge on behalf of all of us that we're going to create a better life for those children. If those kids age out of the system at 18 and we haven't found them a forever family, we failed them. We essentially pat them on the back, we wish them good luck, and say goodbye. Now, I don't know about most of you, but at 18 I wasn't ready to go out and face the world by myself. Statistics show that those kids are more likely to end up on the street, in prison, addicted to drugs, unemployed. We also know that if they have found a forever family, they're much more likely to graduate from school, to have good jobs, and to be able to raise families themselves. And so we need to do better. There are creative things that can be done. I've been blessed to work with Adoption Network Cleveland over the past several years. They developed a new paradigm in finding adoptive homes. And what they do is they have what they call children-centered recruitment. They go back, they look at a child's life, they find somebody who's been involved and important in that child's life. And oftentimes those people can step up to the plate and become adoptive or foster families. So we need to do better. By doing those kinds of programs, Cuyahoga County alone reduced the number of children waiting for adoption from 2,000 to about 840 in the past 8 years. But in the state of Ohio, we still have 4,000 children waiting for forever families, and we need to do better by them, and so that would certainly be a top priority of mine. It is very important that we have balance on the court. It's very important that we have different perspectives represented. And by electing a Democrat, Pete Sikora, on November 4th, we will go a long way towards achieving just that. I thank you.
Justice Stratton, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My opponent argues that we need diversity on the bench, but I maintain that we do have diversity. The party labels really are meaningless on our bench. The group that used to be considered a very activist court was consisted of 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, and that was a group that was frequently expanding tort liability and increasing the tort liability judgments in the state of Ohio. The bench we have now is very strong and very professional and looks to the legislature just at social policy, not to the court. But there are very few 7-0 decisions because it is a court that thinks very independently. The New York Times did a study of the contributions to the people on the bench and rated me the lowest of the 7 justices in terms of the correlation between justices and their votes and their contributors. I was rated at 55%.